number 3.
Hey everyone, it's Adam
and Jay
from the Aeroworks workshop, and today we're here to talk about a really hot topic, no pun intended, lipos and traveling with lipo batteries. And speaking of traveling, we've both been gone for the last week. Sorry about that. I was down at NAB in Las Vegas checking out all the new gadgets, and where were you at, Jay?
I was in the Riviera. Oh, Maya, that is, Mexico.
Oh.
So, yeah, fun in the sun. He was working and I was playing.
See how that works out? So anyways, we had, matter of fact, a colleague of ours just recently had a little issue on Southwest Airlines traveling. And what's your experience has been traveling with lipos?
My experience has actually been good. Last year, I took my Phantom 1 on a trip to Arizona. I carried on the Phantom, and then I used a lipo bag and threw a couple 3-4 batteries in there and didn't have a problem other than them wanting to swab them.
Right.
The first, actually leaving out, they didn't do anything. Coming back, they wanted to just swab it and know what it was for. Then I opened up the case and they're like, oh, okay, and that was it. I didn't, no issue for me, but things are changing all the time, you know.
Now the big thing, guys, when you're traveling with lipos, any lipo battery, there's a couple of things you want to remember. The airlines, and specifically the FAA, has a restriction on the size of battery. It's actually a wattage limitation. That's 100 watts maximum that can be taken on an airplane without it being considered hazardous material and have to be checked as such. Now, when you go on an airplane, you need to take your lipo batteries out of your checked luggage. So if you have a case that's larger than something you can take on as a carry-on, you need to take the lipo batteries out, preferably put them in something like a lipo bag or a specialty case to carry your batteries, and then go ahead and carry those on the airplane with you. And the reason for that is if there's ever a fire, if one of these was to spontaneously combust or whatever,
we've seen the videos.
We want to be able to get to that battery in the cabin and not have it down in an unpressurized area or somewhere where we just can't get to and have an issue on an airplane. Now, recently, we had a friend that was traveling back actually from NAB, and he had a Phantom 4, which has batteries. This is a Phantom 4 battery, actually. Right. And he was doing the right thing and carrying his batteries on, but he was also carrying his Phantom 4 on. And what happened to him, and if anybody's traveled Southwest, you know they don't assign seats.
Right.
And unfortunately, he was at the end of the line. So when he got on with his small Phantom 4 case and his batteries, they said, sorry, sir, no room for overhead checked or overhead baggage.
Oh, that's never good.
Yeah, you're going to have to check this. And he said, well, I need to take my batteries out then to be compliant. And they said, whoa, what are you talking about, batteries? He ended up getting booted off the airplane because nobody had the knowledge of what the rules even were. Southwest didn't have it. The flight attendants didn't know what they were. The gate agent didn't. And finally, after missing 2 flights and talking to some managers, he was able to work that out. But it's important to kind of know what those rules are.
But again, like everything, the rules are always changing, and not everybody's up on the rules. So you never know who's going to say, fine, you can go one way, yeah, no problem, and then coming back, they say you can't take it, and now you're stuck. So it's
you need to be prepared that you may, you know, plan ahead and make sure, you know, if you're taking batteries like this, you better call the airline ahead of time, maybe print out that particular airline's rules on batteries. And how many you can bring on the plane with you. Otherwise, you might just have to take them down to FedEx or UPS and ship them to your location ahead of time so that you don't get stuck at the airport or worse, get stuck at the airport and have them tell you that, no, you got to leave those behind, and who wants to leave behind, you know, $100 or more batteries.
And again, the problem with that is you have to ship them ground. You can't ship them air because they don't want them in airplanes either.
Right.
So, you know, you got to be aware that it may take 3-4 days to get your batteries back home if you have to do that. So.
And traveling domestically is one thing. That's in the U.S. Now, when you start traveling to other countries, that's a whole other ballgame. They might not even know what a lipo is. And what does this look like to people when you open a case and you got wires hanging out and some kind of gel substance in there? So important to have not only the rating on the battery, but have the airline and the FAA, even for that matters, regulations and rules on what type and size of battery you can have with you, because that may or may not work, but at least it's something you could say, look, I'm following the airline's rules and I'm bringing on a 100-watt or less battery. And in fact, the Phantom 4 battery, it's actually listed at, let's see the exact rating, It is 81.3 watts per battery. So you could have, several of these. They just have to be under that 100-watt rating.
Right. What I did with mine too is I taped the ends, put a little electrical tape over it. It just makes them, when they look at the battery, it just
Right.
makes them say, oh, a couple more precautions.
Right.
But more and more people are going to be flying with these now, because these are almost getting not outdated,
Right.
but more and more coming up with the smart batteries. And what's the
Exactly.
difference between the smart battery and a regular LiPo?
Well, the makeup of it is no different. The difference is the old style LiPos like these, you have the actual power leads, the big size cables, and then you have the balance lead. And depending on what the cell count is on your battery, whether it's a small 3-cell or a 6-cell or what have you, is going to determine how many additional wires are. And this is the balance lead. When you start talking about the smart batteries, which are pretty much all the DJI products,
Right.
the Unique, even the 3DR Solo, there's some circuitry built into the top of the battery that's actually monitoring cell voltage and amperage and all that stuff. And that also relays through whatever the app is that you're using to fly it with. But there's no more wires hanging off of it. But it's still a good idea, like Jay said, to even cover up the leads. Because if you do put that in a carry-on of some type, and maybe your keys are in there, you don't want sparks and smoke happening inside of the cabin. That'll be a big eventful flight that you don't want to happen.
Yeah, so basically what you want to do is copy out the FAA paperwork and
Right.
maybe have it with you. Like you say, some people, like I, had no problem getting on, and our friend, got kicked off of a flight. So
Right.
it's, again, ever changing, like everything in the drone world,
And just a couple things about battery safety. Why do we put them in a LiPo bag? Well, inside of a LiPo is essentially several cells, depending on if it's a one cell, 2-cell, and so on. And it's a lithium polymer
Correct.
gel that's essentially in there. And they're very stable when they're at normal temperatures. When they get overheated or frozen or punctured, you break up that makeup, and then that chemical reaction, when it reacts to oxygen, can be very violent. And we'll show you a video clip of a fire from a LiPo. It basically lights off like a torch, and it burns extremely hot.
Right.
And so having something like a LiPo bag, which is somewhat fire retardant, will at least contain that fire, that initial combustion, and hopefully contain the initial fire so that it doesn't burn somebody or burn your case or somebody next to you. What happens also with batteries, again, you hear a lot about charging, and that's one thing nice about the smart charge batteries, is that with the intelligent batteries, they're monitoring their voltage and their individual cell count numbers, so that if they get overcharged, they'll actually start to discharge themselves.
Correct.
The old style, if you charge this up and just throw it on the bench, there's actually a chemical reaction that happens over time, and they'll begin to swell, and that's a dangerous situation.
Right.
Because that's right at the tipping point of something puncturing this or having a hard landing or a crash, and the battery actually lighting off and exploding. So the best thing to do with batteries is, if you're not going to fly them, would you say about 40, 50%? Run it down.
50%. Yeah, run it down to 50%. That seems to be the norm. What people are in
Right.
storage in the winter,
Right.
if you're not flying, depending on where you are. Some people do fly in the winter
Right.
because it's nice for them. So,
and if you don't have a smart battery that monitors that in the app, you can use a LiPo checker or any of the more advanced battery chargers. They not only do they charge the battery, they'll balance the battery, they'll discharge it, and they'll also have a storage mode. Will actually bring it down to a safe level so you can put it away for the winter. And it's important to really maintain this style of a battery over the smart charge type, because these don't have the brain. You're the brain for the batteries.
Yeah, real quick too, we had a kid in our club that didn't use the balance charger. There's a reason for this. What this does is it tells the charger specifically what battery this is, whereas if you don't plug it in and you just plug it in to charge it, what he did is he charged it as a 6S when it was really a 3S, so it was putting more volts in than it should be, and it actually started a fire and burned,
Right.
burned
And
a lot of his house down because of that. That's what this balance lead is for. It's a smarter part of it to kind of say, oh, wait a minute, it's not a 6-cell, it's a 3-cell, so it won't throw the voltage in that a 6-cell would get.
And the balance lead, not only does it tell the charger how many cells, but it also tells the charger what the voltage of each cell is, so that if one's a little low, it'll bring that up, or it'll keep one down so that it balances it. And a good point about the charging On the smart charge batteries, it's obviously monitoring that voltage as well. And if you overcharge it, it's going to, you can set in the app now, you can say, you know, 10-day, 7-day, 5-day discharge. These will not do that. And that's why it's important to use that smart charger or a Lipo checker to check those. Because leaving a battery unattended, and that's what I was getting at,
Sure.
is a bad situation. Even the smart charge ones, you don't want to just plug them in and run off, because anything can happen. You need to keep an eye on them and monitor them. And even though it may only be an hour, you know, keep that close by to where if something does happen, you can get to it quick and it's not going to burn your house down.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, we probably all have done that, plugged it in and got sidetracked doing something. So they're very critical. They work great when they work, but they can be very dangerous on the backside of that too. So.
Well, guys, we hope you found a little session on batteries and traveling with batteries. We'll put a bunch of links down in the description about the FAA and different airline battery procedures. We have also, what do we got coming up this weekend?
International Drone Day.
International Drone Day. And we had a little difficulties in our area securing a site, as did many teams across the country, because unfortunately, we're out trying to promote the safe uses and educate people on how to use them. And unfortunately, a lot of places around the country, they don't want them in parks. They don't want them on school grounds. They don't want them on a lot of different places. So we lucked out and found a venue at the last minute. But yeah, this weekend, International Drone Day, May 7th.
May 7th, right.
And it's at different times, of course, around the country. But if you
around the world.
Around the world, exactly, many countries.
Right.
If you don't have a team in your local area, you can go to internationaldroneday.com and find a team that's hopefully nearby you. If you don't even have one in your area, you can even start a team.
Right.
And it's a great way to get out and share your hobby with other people, as well as educate people, invite out, you know, police officers, fire departments, your neighbor, whoever maybe doesn't have an understanding of how they work and the things they can do, and spread the word and share the knowledge.
And the basic about it is spread education about. They're not bad. With all the news reports, you never hear the good that happens with the drones, with the rescue that Adam's doing with Swarm and all that. You hear all the drone that hit the airplane in Heathrow and it turns out to be a bag. It's all scare tactics. So all we're trying to do is promote safe flying, safety with the drones, and not just drones, but any RC.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
So
guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. We're going to have some really cool new products coming up. Hopefully in the next week we get back on schedule with the vlog. And stay tuned and make sure you like and subscribe and comment down below if you have a question about batteries, or you have a comment, or you want us to do another topic about something else. Leave it down below and we'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
All right.